Billy the Wizard Rocket Broomstick Racing is a Harry Potter knockoff from the creators of Ninjabread Man. Got your attention yet?
Several years ago, I reviewed the infamous Wii game Ninjabread Man, a platformer starring a candy man, no, not that one, who has to use completely broken motion controls to jump through a dessert-themed world to collect some portal machines and, well, that's it. The game took half an hour to beat if you managed to avoid dying and backtracking, and there was no story or final boss. The motion controls that they tried to force you to use for jumping barely worked, the box and instructions made reference to moves that you don't have, combat was a joke since you just had a homing shot that you could spam, and the extra gameplay modes were made by people who despise the entire medium of video games. The real story behind Ninjabread Man was that it was released the same day as 3 other games that played identical to it and had the same list of credits down to the initial. I don't think it's ever been confirmed, but supposedly the game's developer, Data Design Interactive, was making a Zool game but couldn't secure the license, so they split their prototype into 4 separate shipped games to maximize profit. DDI was one of the most prolific producers of shovelware for the Wii and the PlayStation 2, which also saw ports of lots of their trash. Their entire business model was to make boatloads of cheap games, sell them for a third the regular price, and rake in the cash from bargain bins. And apparently it worked because while DDI went under in 2012, the head of the studio has a new dev team that's still porting DDI's decade-old shovelware bullshit to the Switch! So out of the mountains of crap that DDI sharded into the world, how did I land on Billy the Wizard Rocket Broomstick Racing? Well, because that wasn't the game's original title. This game was launched as Barry Hatter the Sorcerer's Broomstick, until a threatened lawsuit from the Harry Potter franchise forced them to change it. Even the castle on the back of the box looks almost identical to Hogwarts. Were they trying to get sued? No, that's not Hogwarts. That is clearly the Pogshorts Institute of Spellcasting and Sorcery. Wait a second, join Barry Hatter and his friends? They didn't even fix his name on the back of the box!
But on the upside, so far as I know, Billy Hatter's creators aren't actively entrenched into and funding a genocidal hate campaign against ordinary everyday people who just want equal rights and to live in peace and should be allowed to because people's sexual preferences and gender identities have literally zero impact on the lives of other people who should mind their own fucking business! So yeah, point goes to DDI.
Well, continuing last episode's trend of games that suck before you even turn them on, the title screen on the Wii's menu is blurry as hell, and they forgot to have any music play on the main menu. The music doesn't start until after you've selected a profile. Also, these preview images on the back of the game's box, those are the game's pre-rendered loading screens. They really did not want you to see actual gameplay until it's inside your console. Anyway, the game has really handy listings of both the controls and various how-to-play explanations on the main menu, so I'll just peruse through all this before we get started. It's a flying game, obviously, and Z accelerates, C hits the brake, and you steer by tilting the nunchuck. The control stick and D-pad control targeting, A uses power-ups, and attacking is mapped to remote waggles. Fudge! Yep, you fly exclusively using motion controls, and there are no optional alternative control schemes. Not just steering with motion controls, steering by tilting the nunchuck, which I feel was pretty universally well known not to have as good motion detection as the Wii Remote itself, just to shoot themselves in the foot even harder than usual. But what kills me is, this could easily have just been mapped to the Wii's controls without needing the nunchuck at all. If you're dead set on flying with motion controls, just use the remote on its own. Hold it sideways so it feels more natural, it's easier to control, you have plenty of buttons, use 1, 2 in the D-pad to control speed and fire weapons, and map items to A or B. Problem solved! But no, use the single worst control scheme that is physically possible with the Wii's layout. And it's not bad enough that you steer by tilting the nunchuck, which feels horrifically imprecise and annoying. The way that you turn tanks the game too. Tilting the nunchuck left and right almost kinda rolls you instead of actually turning. It feels like someone trying to program a jet fighter flight sim, having never played or set eyes on a single flight sim. And since you're rotating the nunchuck, which then has to be tilted up or down along a brand new axis, it makes the game handle like complete steaming pig crap. And you know what pairs nicely with steaming pig crap? Having to fly through rings! I still don't entirely know why, but the controls make it so hard to make any kind of corrections to your flight path that any degree of precision to hit these minuscule targets pretty much comes down to pure luck. You'll remember that you also use the Wii Remote's motion controls to fire projectiles. You raise the remote upward and then fling it downward to launch attacks. But the projectiles are supposed to track and home in on your target, and as you can see from the training stage where you shoot humongous stationary balloons, your shots don't track worth shit! Literally trying to hit the broadside of a barn from a standstill, my shots almost seem hard-coded to swerve away from the targets on purpose. Your one and only means of attack flat out doesn't work. So it is a really good thing that there aren't any boss battles or combat encounters in a game called Rocket Broomstick Racing. Son of a bitch! There are 8 playable characters to pick from. It's probably safe to assume that they don't have different stats since that'd take design work and programming effort. I'm assuming these are Billy Hatter's best friends, Donald Beasley, Hermione Danger, Devil Shortbottom, and Duna Hatebad. I think I'll play as the asshole-looking professor who'll probably turn out to be a good guy, who no doubt is named Severed Grape. Okay, there are 6 short training stages to get the hang of the controls, and then there are 3 gameplay modes to pick from. There's racing by flying through rings, there's picking up flying spellbooks, and there's fighting dragons with the shit attacks that don't work. Well, flying after the spellbook sounds like the mode that won't make me hate life. Let's start there. You spawn into a tiny map, anywhere from 8 to 12 floating books spawn into the map, you pick them up, and that's pretty much it. There are 6 levels of this mode, and not only do they all reuse the same one map, I'm pretty sure the book's AI doesn't get any harder or make them move any faster. I actually had to double check my footage because I could have sworn the game bugged out and made me redo the 4th level, but it didn't. Levels 3, 4, and 6 are just the same one mission copied and pasted down to the layout, enemies, and enemy behavior. And then level 5 bumps the number of books that you have to chase down from 12 to 8, because what even is a difficulty curve? The thing that makes this mode utterly maddening is the camera. It's positioned absolutely dead center behind you, which means you have 0 depth perception whatsoever. You go chasing after a book in hot pursuit, and you won't be able to tell at all whether you're about to grab it, how close you are, how exactly to maneuver to grab it. It's all complete guesswork. They basically stack beer goggles on top of the already garbage controls. Oh, you can adjust the camera using the directional pad. You want to see what it does?
Nothing! Absolutely nothing! Stupid!
What I love is that the pre-level briefings tell you that all of the school's spellbooks have gone flying outside, which implies the Pogshorts library only has 12 books grand total. So either this school is run by Ron DeSantis, topical, or the roster of 7 students is the entire school body. I'm inclined to believe the latter since this map feels really, really tiny. The scale feels completely off and the castle is way too small, on top of how the castle is just sitting on a floating rock in the middle of an empty void. You can fly inside the castle, which surprised the hell out of me, and it's like 2 hallways and 2 great halls. That's it. All 18 levels of all 3 gameplay modes reuse a whole one map, and I still couldn't be asked to actually make that one map a proper castle. Nice banners, too. I'm sure we won't mistake it for Hogwarts if you take out the yellow banners for Hufflepuff. Next, we may as well try Green Dragon Attack. In this mode, a big green dragon is terrorizing Pogshorts, and you have to defeat it before time runs out. Except it doesn't take long to notice something strange about this boss battle. The damn dragon never, ever attacks you. It seriously just floats around in circles, minding its own business while you brutally shoot it to death. Oh sure, the dragon is supposed to have flying imp henchmen that attack you on its behalf, but this mode is 6 levels long. I got shot at a grand total of twice. And that's not the only reason the health bar in the corner is hilarious. You see how my health bar is 10 hit points long even though I only have 5 hits? To my knowledge, it is impossible to fill your health above 5 hit points. I never found any health pickups to use those empty points. So why does the health bar have 10 spaces when it's impossible to fill? Probably because Ninjabread Man and its 3 clone brothers also had 10 hit points and they just recycled the same health system. Most, if not all, of DDI's games were built using the Gods engine, a proprietary piece of tech that DDI designed to churn out multiple games for multiple systems on the quick and cheap. So even though Billy the Wizard is not a Ninjabread Man clone, it still has the exact same health and weapon systems, the same menus, the same credits list, and among numerous other things, the same shit controls and physics. In fact, I think that music sounds familiar too. Where the hell have I heard that before? Oh my god, they recycled the music from Ninjabread Man. They had no shame! No wonder it sounded familiar. This is the soundtrack to my nightmares! Each green dragon level, you have to hit the dragon 11 times. Should be simple, given that the dragon doesn't fight back, except that your projectile doesn't work worth a damn! At least half of the times that I swung the remote to fire, it didn't work. And when the shooting did work, the projectiles didn't home worth shit. So you follow the dragon around, desperately flailing the remote, sometimes firing off projectiles that fly into empty space doing nothing, and every now and then actually hitting the damn dragon! There's no aiming these shots. You are 100% at the game's mercy to land any damage whatsoever. You basically have to toss 2 coins that both come up heads every time you try to attack. And there's an entire game mode built solely around combat with this defective weapon! They recycle the exact same stage twice. The first 3 levels of this mode have you fight the exact same 1 dragon. The 4th stage has you fight 2 of the same dragon at once, and the 5th and 6th levels have you fight 3 dragons. I have a hunch that each dragon just has 1 pre-programmed flight path that doesn't change, and no actual AI to back it up, and each solo fight is probably just a dragon using a different flight path. It's the level of effort that I would expect for DDI's trash. Fire! 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 Throw a goddamn fireball, you useless sack of balls! Is it too much to ask to hit a single freaking target? Stop making Ninjabread Man look good! That's supposed to be hard to do! And having to chase down 3 different dragons, praying that the controls work long enough to win, and with one of the dragons constantly weaving around the castle taking sharp turns, I ran out of time trying to get this damn game to work right. I failed the level, and the game over screen tells you that the school has been destroyed. I see no downside here. But I did eventually figure out a strategy that seemed to work for killing these dragons in a timely fashion. Are you ready? Just don't move! See, piece 1 of the puzzle was I noticed that the projectile attacks seem to work more often if you're moving slowly, probably because DDI's janky vomit barely works as is, let alone while trying to keep track of your movement. And piece 2 of the puzzle came right here. Did you all see that? I'm pretty sure this projectile hit a wall, yet still somehow kept going and dealt damage. The Gods engine, everyone! The game's code is so bad that you can shoot through walls if it's in a good mood. So I just parked my character out away from the castle to where I can see the dragon through most of its path, and I hose it down with fireballs until it takes damage. And this plan worked! Congratulations, you have slain the peaceful dragons who just swung by to say hi to all the young wizards because they yearn for human companionship but are too shy to go seek it at a real castle with more than a dozen inhabitants. These projectiles take ammunition to fire, by the way, but they only take ammunition in this one specific mode, and that big fiery number at the bottom center of the screen? That is a score counter that does nothing and which the game doesn't save. The game keeps charting new realms of pointlessness. Well, I've put it off as long as I can. It's time for the final gameplay mode, Broomstick Grand Prix. A racing mode where you fly through rings. That's funny, I didn't think that I was reviewing Vroom in the Night Sky just yet. But it's not just flying through rings, it's flying through rings on a strict time limit with imprecise controls driven by hot garbage motion detection and with physics geared from the ground up to screw you over. See, the rings aren't that big, and you start every race in a tight cluster of other racers that you'll bump into constantly, not only wrecking your speed, but throwing off your steering by knocking you into other directions. The first course has you wind through the legs of the castle moat with zero room for error, and grazing a single wall gets you stuck, because the impact itself stops you dead, and then trying to take off again budges you back into the wall so that it knocks you further off course. I'd say they were taking notes from Superman 64, but Superman at the very least allowed you to miss 3 or 4 rings without racking up a failure. Here? No! You have to hit every single ring in perfectly sequential order or else it doesn't count. Missing a single ring a single time pretty much forces you to start over. It'll take too long to stop and go back for you to have any shot at winning. And the turning handle so badly with the nunchuck, it is so difficult to make precise moves and too laggy to correct yourself in mid-flight. One edit twitch and kablooey! You've got a friggin' death grip on the nunchuck, trying to weave through all the other racers out to sabotage you, trying to stay on target to clear the rings, and one slight misjudge on a single sharp turn or one mild bump off course, and you restart again and again and again. And you know that it's not worth it. You know that there's no cutscene and no ending for suffering through this pile of failure. There's no achievement to where anybody will know or care what you've done. It's just you sitting here torturing yourself, fighting the urge not to pitch the damn Wii remotes through the wall because they aren't working anyway! It's not like you're going to break them! The one and only thing that makes this mode manageable is that the AI is friggin' stupid. AI opponents move pretty slowly through the course and they never use boost items. Once you pull ahead, you can maintain a pretty slow speed to where the turns are manageable and you still won't fall behind. But you're not out of the woods yet, because the maps are still awful. Level 2, the rings are insanely close together through turns, and level 5, the course is so tangled that you can never tell where the next ring is going to come from, so you botch up turns. But at least one of the dev team's failures is helpful to you. Oh, and the game makes a big deal about how you can shoot the other players for points, even having little blue orb pickups to increase your shot strength. But even on the slimmest chance that you can get a projectile to land at a high speed, shooting or getting shot has no discernible effect whatsoever, and the score doesn't do anything. So why the power meter from Ninjabread Man? Why the orb pickups? Why actually call out the score like it's important? I don't know. And of course, like Ninjabread Man and its clones, absolutely nothing happens when you finish the game. You get kicked back to the main menu without so much as a congratulations screen. Nobody cares that you beat the game, not even the game itself. Somehow my copy of the game came with instructions, and even though they're only about 4 pages, they're still wrong. The manual claims that you have to hold A when swinging the remote to fire projectiles. You don't. A is used to trigger items, and there's only one item in the entire game, a rocket boost that you will never, ever use because it makes steering completely flat-ass impossible and no objective in the game necessitates going that fast. A, in effect, is a giant screw yourself button. In fact, if you pause the game with an item equipped and you go to resume the game, pressing A to close the pause menu triggers your rocket boost and sends you flying off at Mach speed. So I really hope you don't have to get the door or answer a phone call in the middle of a race, or you are boneroned when you go to unpause it. The manual also tries to explain the health system. Running out of hit points does not kill you, but it does drain your projectile power, it says. Yeah, slight problem with that. The only gameplay mode with a health bar is the Dragon Boss Fight mode, and the dragon fights do not have any power-ups to strengthen your projectiles. DDI reused the same engine and mechanics for so many games, I think they were forgetting which one is which. But no matter which DDI game you're looking at, apparently they're all garbage. Billy the Wizard Rocket Broomstick Racing is a mercifully short game with controls and all fundamental gameplay mechanics that barely work across the board. which is impressive given how devoid of substance or depth the game is in the first place. DDI's games are the purest example of you had one job, consistently blowing even the most basic of gaming genres. In a way, the Harry Potter connection is the worst part of the game, because without it, the game would have slunk off and died in obscurity where it belongs.